This omnichannel approach is still something new, it's still something that is growing, and it's still a big advantage for those who already have it. So using SMS, push, loyalty programs, and not just email marketing, that's probably the first big gap that they should consider.
Hey, this is where I talk to the best drivers of the direct-to-consumer industry, like founders, investors, marketers, CROs, agencies, and dwell into strategies that they've been using to build some great D2C businesses. Let's go on the D2C drive. I'm your host, Ashish Ramamurthy. Hey, folks. How's D2C, folks? What's going on this week? There's been a lot of events happening. Everybody has been talking about omni-channel growth strategies nowadays. I think everybody now wants to spread their wings, in acquiring people, but also it's becoming so much more important to, retain your customers, make them loyal to your brand, make them loyal to your mission, and all that. So let's talk about retention, right? So while we've all been looking towards running those paid ads, getting those influencers, talking about us, why are we doing that? We're doing that so that, people buy from us, more people buy from us, and eventually we grow as a company sustainably, right? So today I have with me Daniel Budai. He has been a master in retention, so to speak, right, from the last 4 or 5 years. Daniel, so great to have you in the DDC Drive podcast. I'm sure the listeners are going to have a blast today, right? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm saying hey to every listeners. Yeah.
That's great. So few of them have listened to stuff around hey, we need to retain people. Here is a set of things we need to do. But I think today, me and you, we really wanted to focus on how do you go about doing that, right? Like, what does it take to retain people, right? It's just not 2 words that it's about really understanding your customers really well. It's about reaching to them the right way. So how do you go about doing that, right? So Daniel, why don't you share a bit about your agency, right? Like, what you've been doing? You've been working with brand around retention. So I just wanted to kick off this podcast by understanding you have seen, you've implemented new models. I'm sure you've brought in new models to the ecosystem, and you've seen brands do a few things. But you're like, hey, this is not right. This is not right. There's something more that you need to do. So what are those gaps that you're seeing when it comes to retention that e-commerce brands haven't been able to think at all, even with all the tools, all the resources available as of today?
Yeah, sure. So my agency was founded 5 years ago, and before I was a copywriter, and we realized that the e-commerce space is a good one. And we started focusing on email marketing, and our growth was at the same time when Klaviyo had a huge growth, and it became the number 1 app on Shopify. And recently, in the past, let's say 1 or 2 years, we started focusing on we added more layers to it. So that's why we call ourselves now as a e-commerce retention marketing agency. So we focus not only on email, but we realized that an omni-channel approach is necessary, just as you mentioned. And we added SMS marketing, loyalty programs, push notifications, and basically we are open to any marketing channels if it can increase the lifetime value and the customer retention of the e-commerce clients. So that's what we do nowadays, and we mostly work with American-based companies. I would say 80% of clients. I think that's still the most developed market. So even if we work with someone else in in a different region, then we can use our knowledge on the US market there. And regarding gaps, so there are many gaps. So let's talk about those. And many times I think that the biggest Shopify brands, they are aware of these gaps, at least them. The top few percent, at least they are aware. But the truth is that they are not all of them. I just read a report of Shopify Plus brands a few weeks ago. It was posted on LinkedIn. And believe it or not, but only 20% of Shopify Plus brands use SMS marketing. Only 20% of them, they use a loyalty program, if any, they have. And they use, so 80% they use email marketing. Only 80%, by the way, because there is still 20% who don't use it, or at least we don't know about it. And most of them, they use Klaviyo. So I think now email marketing has a good market penetration. They understand the value, but SMS and loyalty is still lagging behind. So we are talking about omnichannel approach, but it's still something that is not common for a Shopify brand, and probably even less for not Shopify brands. So, this omnichannel approach is still something new. It's still something that is growing, and it's still a big advantage for those who already have it. So using SMS, push, loyalty programs, and not just email marketing, that's probably the first big gap that they should consider.
Email and SMS has been there for quite some time now. We all love those offers which we got from text messages. So only we started to move on to SMS, and we love those personalized emails that these guys send. So maybe sometimes you check out, but as email boxes increased, the attention span towards email became lower and lower, right? Only those people who are loyal to the brand or anyone would just open the email, right? But even then, people haven't realized that, right? Like that's so surprising to me. Why do you think that has happened?
When we try to sell these services, because we do it as an agency every day, we face with a lot of friction, and I know the most common questions. So many business owners, they are afraid that SMS is too intrusive because of their own experience. They get annoying text messages. And, same as with email, because you get annoying emails, it doesn't mean you have to be annoying as well. You can do it differently and you will stand out. So that's one thing. And it's even more common with SMS than with email, because yes, it's a very, your phone is very intimate channel, let's say. So I understand this fear, but I think it can be solved. That's one of them. Also the price, because unlike email marketing, if you send more text messages, you pay more. So it's more similar to ads, basically. Yeah. People see, the more you pay, and they are afraid if they can see an ROI. That's another thing. And, sometimes just time, really, like they barely have time even for email, not even for other channels like SMS. So yeah. These are the most common ones, but I think it will take a few years until they start using it and realizing it. Honestly, they must do it, otherwise they won't survive. So
yeah, true that. I mean, gone are the days where only one channel can give you out. Now we're talking about like just 4 channels, but there are more as well, right? Still, these channels exist, right? It's a communication channel, as simple as it gets. But how each brand communicates with customers, that's where it all matters, right? So what are some of the annoying things that you have seen brands do with customers? And what are the amazing things that you have told them that, hey, no, this is what you need to do. This is how you can change your game?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And I think I used to be a copywriter, so I did it for years to master that. And nowadays, our copywriters in the team, that's where they excel really, like communication itself. That's why I think copywriting is crucial. And we can stick to SMS because it's very you can spot it very fast if your text marketing is annoying. So I think if you send irrelevant messages to people, which is just not relevant. Also, if you just send coupon codes all the time, most people, they don't like it. Or even if some do, you want to attract the right type of people. It's hard to be profitable if you just give away discount codes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so frequent messaging, irrelevant message itself, and then sending time, that's also important. For email as well, for SMS even more important. So you should know when is the best time to send out the messages actually, and you can use.
How do you know that? Like, you experiment by sending a lot and then optimizing for the best times, or like does it change according to each customer as well?
So I would say like 3-4 years ago, you had to test it, and it took time, sometimes months. But nowadays, AI or machine learning, whatever we call it, it can figure it out in a few days. So you send out. It depends on your list size, but let's say you hit the send button, and it sends out, let's say, 100 emails in each hour. 2,400 in one day, and you will see the open rate at what time it's the highest. So it tests that, and you do it a few times, it calibrates the whole thing, and then the software automatically sends out the campaign when it's the best time. So yeah, it's very smart.
I think it's all important to understand how to use the AI for even as an agency or even as an owner. That I think becomes completely important. And you pointed it right that now with the dearth of data available, a good machine on top of that will actually help even maybe your team as well, right? Like, your team must be like figuring this out with multiple accounts. With maybe AI coming in, they don't have to do that ops process, but they can spend more time on creativity. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you are right. So it saves time for them for sure, because they can test other things. They don't have to do this. And another thing, so I think it's still good if they understand how this works, even if it's automated, because it can happen sometimes that the manual approach is still better. So that's why we shouldn't be blind about technology, that it does the work. I don't know how it works. You shouldn't be like that, because that can be dangerous as well.
I want to deep dive into aspects of retention, right? So one really key thing is how I buy, what I like, or the kind of budget I have, or kind of behaviors that I do when it comes to shopping. See, some shoppers may be so fast enough, right? That, yeah, okay, I know what I want. I'm just going to come here. I'm going to buy, and I'm not going to waste time shopping. But there's few people who are crazy about shopping, that they're literally opening up, 10 or 15 different stores and trying to know what they want. And when it comes to brands being able to handle this, I feel that each customer needs to be served accordingly. But everybody says that, hey, you need to do this. But how hard is it to even do this? Because imagine if you have 10,000 customers coming on your store at a time, how do you personalize for each single person? How do you do that?
We don't have that many people to do it manually, so we have to use automation. Actually, the sending time is one of them. So the software can personalize the best sending time for you. But there are other tools as well. And I think AI, as it becomes more and more mature and used by companies. It will get better by time. But I would mention two things here. Actually, we can call, so it's basically dynamic content in the emails. Probably the easiest way, everyone knows that, is hey, first name. And then the software just puts there the name, hey, Daniel, or hey, Ben, whatever. That's a very basic version of it. But and you can use different tags based on your purchase history, your location, your gender, different things. But few years ago, Klaviyo came up with dynamic product recommendations. And what this means, so when you build the email, the template, you can put there, let's say, 3 product blocks, and you tell Klaviyo, please add dynamic product recommendations here, which is based on the past history of that person, of the recipient. And if I check t-shirts on the website every day, I will see the best t-shirts. If I check jeans, I will see those ones. So it's something that can tremendously increase the conversion rate, because it's not just a generic recommendation, but it's personalized on me. That's one thing. And same approach for customer reviews. I will tell you another tool, reviews.io, or I think IO. And they do the same. So they customize the customer reviews for me. So if I check the jeans on the website, I will see the jeans customer reviews. And that's something very powerful. Now I can see this approach in pop-ups as well. Different people, they can see different offers in the pop-up. It's very interesting. And I think this is the future, already the present, that the content on the website, on the pop-up, in the emails, even SMS, it will be very personalized, so it increases the conversion rate. And it's also automated, because I don't have much work with it.
Daniel, I think this week when we were discussing about what to talk about in the podcast, you told me this thing about RFM segmentation. That was quite new for me to hear, because I've just come across people telling, hey, I just want to know my new customers by repeating customers, and I just want to target them. What is the concept of RFM segmentation, and why is it important for retention?
RFM stands for recency frequency monitoring, and how this works. So on a basic level, so there are these 3 things, and basically each can be rated from 1 to 5, let's say. So, and then you can go and pick one subscriber or someone in your audience and rate that person based on these 3 things. For example, there is a guy called, let's say, Ben, and Ben is someone who purchased yesterday in a very low value, for $10, let's say. Then the recency will be 5, so very high, the highest. The frequency will be low, because he just purchased only once. Monetary will be also low, so let's say it will be 5, 1, 1. And based on these 3 things, you can rate the different people, and this will give you different categories, lot of categories. I think 5 times, I think it's more than 100 different segments actually using this rating. But the point is, so you will get a ton of data, a lot of segments about them, and it's a very, very detailed segmentation, and you can use it for your email marketing, any kind of marketing actually, for your ads as well, for everything, and it's amazing. However, I like geeky stuff sometimes, and we tried it with different brands. And for smaller ones, I think it doesn't make sense. So I now wouldn't use it below, let's say, 100,000 subscribers. So below that, it's better just use easier things, because I know this is amazing or sounds fancy and amazing, but it's not as useful. So for a bigger mid and large size brands, it's something that you should definitely do. For a smaller business, I would stick to something more simple. Yeah.
So it's primarily that map of saying, okay, uh, segment how much you should segment depending on the number of subscribers you got. Don't
Yeah.
don't take a framework that maybe a 9-figure brand is doing and apply it to a 6-figure brand.
Yeah.
I see it and see it magically work. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because of course you can use it, and we did it actually for smaller brands, for even 7-figure brands, and it's just not worth the time and the money. So you should focus your efforts somewhere else on growing that email list, for example, instead of segmenting what you have. So it's just really optimizing your time and your resources.
So so have you seen these fine lines of under segmentation or over segmentation? What do you feel is a good segmented account sitting there?
Yeah. So actually, this is one of the points that we always talk about with potential clients, that they either over segment or under segment. Nowadays, still most of the companies, they don't segment enough, so they send out bulk emails. We talked about dynamic content. They don't use any of that. They just send out the same content to all subscribers, and it generates some money, but it could be multiplied with good practices. And so under segmentation is the biggest issue, but even over segmentation, meaning that someone spends a lot of time and effort into it, but maybe set up not the right segments or segments that don't make sense. Sometimes I can see those, like, for example, location-based segmentation for someone who says in the same region. I mean, there is no much difference between different cities, but they still do it. Or even gender-based segmentation. So yeah, I could say examples. And it simply takes too much time. And it's still much better than under segmentation. But when someone comes to an agency like us, we work with almost 200 brands, and we really know what works for what industry. And we have 4 or 5 ideas what to start with. We set those up, and they usually get great results.
Could you maybe share maybe 1 or 2 things that you do once you onboard a client so that people know that, that they're not doing this and they can do this with you?
Sure. So our favorite is engagement-based segmentation. And actually, that's a more basic version of the RFM. Basically, what we really focus on is recency and monetary, let's say, of these 3. So basically, how much value they purchased so far and how recently. And based on that, we set up different segments. We call them engaged 30, engaged 60. What this means, those people engaged 30, in the last 30 days, they purchased or opened an email. They showed engagement. So we use this one, and I think that's the best way to segment for smaller businesses in most cases. There are some other, techniques like location-based that can make sense, or purchase history, what category they purchased, especially if there are many products, hundreds of products or more. So yeah, but still engagement-based is probably the best one. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So folks, if you are looking to it, that customer engagement being a really important thing for your, business right now, I think you should reach out to Daniel and talk to him about it. Thanks, Daniel, for that. A lot of agencies have come and provided these email and SMS retention marketing services, but I think things are changing now when it comes to retention, right? So retention is overall, right? When it comes to, hey, you're running an ad, you need to remark it. Somebody opened an email, you need to get them back again. Somebody bought product, you need to get them buy it again. Somebody even followed you on social media, how do you re-engage them back again? So there's different aspects of retention. But when it comes to the customer journey, right, from ads to forget about ads, like I'm talking about any paid thing. It can be influencer, can be ads or anything like that, right? Moving to website, moving to cons. How do you stitch the journey really good for a customer? Because that's tough. Because if somebody can nail retention in website and build for CRO, and somebody can nail email and look at somebody getting more people to their store back. But how do you stitch it together? And what's the power of that? Right? Like, I think I want people to realize now, in order to go omni-channel, how do you need to stitch that customer journey across? Have you been doing this kind of stuff with any clients? Would love to have some case studies, thrown across as well.
Yeah. So I think there was a meme about it that business owners, they imagine the customer journey as a linear thing, like Facebook ad, website, maybe email if they don't buy, and from email they come back and they buy, or from retargeting ads, and that's it. And I really recommend everyone to check out these 3 graphs or 3 maps. I think that's their name. In Google Analytics, you can find them, or in tools like Triple Whale or Hyros, but it will show you that the whole picture is way more complex. Like people, they go from one point to the other and back and forth even 5-7 times, and it's just crazy. It's almost impossible to follow. So it's very different what you have in your mind. We always try to simplify things, but reality is way more complex. So yeah, but I think so. What we focus currently more and more is lifetime value and measuring it. And I mentioned these tools, Hyros, Triple Whale, Google Analytics. So we use these tools, and we want to urge our clients to use these tools, because they don't really measure the LTV of their clients and the different cohorts, the different segments, their LTV. And the other thing is not just the LTV, because lifetime is a very abstract number. You don't have 10 years to figure it out and wait.
Yeah.
But these tools, they can tell you how fast you get your money back on their purchases. So if I spend I don't know, $50 to acquire a customer, how fast I will be profitable in 1 month, in 6 months, whatever. And I really want business owners to be aware of this, to see those numbers and compare the lifetime value of their customers with the acquisition cost, and at what point in the future they will be profitable on each customer. So now I think it's very undervalued. Even top brands, many times they don't measure it, which is quite sad, because if they they measured it, then they could be much more aware how fast they can grow, maybe even faster than now. So I don't know if this answers the question. It's a more big picture thing.
Yeah, I did. So, but I maybe have a simpler question to ask you. Right? Like, when you suggest tools, even from your personal handle or anything like that, or any tool you come across for your clients, do you suggest one tool which does one thing to be recommended to someone, or you want to be like, hey, okay, you know what, 3-4 different things can be done in one tool, and then you can grow that, right? What's the trade there, right?
Yeah, great question. Actually, I don't really have a clear answer, because also clients, they have different preferences. So, there is one approach, which is keep everything in one platform, or use the best for everything, which is more platforms, and then you integrate them, but it takes more time as well.
Yeah.
So some clients, they want everything keep in one place. Then we usually recommend Klaviyo, because it has email, SMS, push. You can measure LTV on a basic level. So we recommend that one. And the other type of even pop-ups in Klaviyo, while others, they are okay to keep things in different tools. So let's say we use Klaviyo for email, and now we use a review app. We use Regard for SMS, Optimum for pop-ups, and we integrate all of these. So both approach can work well. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So maybe we'll deep dive into that. I think that needs a different conversation altogether. So, Daniel, just moving on to a bit of, as an agency owner, kind of a perspective here, right? Like agencies have pretty much been the kingmakers of great Shopify brands in the last pretty much decade. I believe that, and I still believe it, and like that's going to be a thing moving forward as well. And you have seen other agencies also popping up in the similar space, but you have stood out. Everybody knows you have stood out, right? And you're also now maybe thinking of extending more services, or telling other agencies that, you know what, like, let me just help you guys right now. Right? Like I know what you're doing wrong, and like I'm seeing that in you as well right now. So, as an agency owner, how should somebody diversify their current services? How should they improve and grow their agency as well? During this time where I think we are in a very interesting time right now in the whole world, where technology is coming into play. People are looking at manpower. People are also looking at creativity. People are looking at building sustainable businesses. So it's a really good stage right now is the one is going through. And as an agency owner, how should you adapt to these times?
Yeah, I think things are moving very fast nowadays. And now we have AI. I can see new agencies popping up all the time. I also get a lot of cold emails, cold DMs from new agencies. But I would be very interested to see data on this, like what's the average lifetime of an agency, because my estimate it's a few months, so not too much. I think simply just sticking to your niche, if you already have a good one for multiple years, that's already a differentiator. You can stand out already, and in a few years you will be in the top few percent, which is in many industries that's not the case. If you want to be a top manufacturer or banker, you have to stay decades in that industry, even to become a manager. But in digital marketing, in a few years, you can have a lot of knowledge, more than most people. So that's, really sticking to your niche. And if you are starting out, then that's a different scenario. Then I think you should try out different things and just see what sticks. I talked to a few young people who reached out to me to help them, to mentor them. I tried to help them. I know it's not easy at the beginning because sometimes just nothing works, and I know it can be a very bad feeling. So you really just have to survive in those months. But once you stick to a niche, I think it's good to stay there. That's what we've done as well. I just told to my team that now 80% of our energy must go into e-commerce retention, but 20% should be experimenting things. So now we work with a few companies on smaller projects which are not e-commerce. So there are 2 moving companies in the US, so local businesses in the US. One online live streaming company. It's more like a startup, and I really hope they will become the mainstream in a few months or years. They are growing very fast now. So we always experiment and see our existing skills where we could use it somewhere else. I think e-commerce is a great place to learn skills, become process-oriented. E-commerce is really like that. And I think for example, for local businesses, they don't really have this mindset. And if we can inject this mindset into that, maybe it will explode. So yeah, we are testing things now. Yeah.
I think. Thanks a lot, Daniel. So guys, anybody out here running agencies, should adopt this entire thing of, hey, stick to your niche. If you know something good, be at it. People want to hear you. People want to work with you. That's the formula. Two, be process oriented if you want to be in e-commerce. Amazing, Daniel. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing podcast. I'm sure all the listeners have got a little bit more understanding of how to go about retention, because everybody was like, hey, let's do many things and all that, but no, one by one, engineer things, step by step, and now we have all the tools possible to be able to do that, and all the teams possible to be able to do that. So thanks a lot, Daniel, for diving into the DC Drive podcast. We'll see you again. Hope you had a lovely time.
Thanks a lot, and thanks everyone who listened to us.
Ashwin.